Thank you. You may take your seats. To commence today's formal proceedings, may I kindly invite the following dignitaries forward to light the oil lamp. The guest speaker today, Dr. B.J.C. Pereira, Consultant Specialist, Pediatrician. The Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo, Senior Professor Chandrika Vijayaratnam. Dean, Faculty of Medicine, Vidya Jyoti, Professor Vajra H.W. Disanayaka. President of the Faculty of Medicine Teachers Association, Professor Madhuvanti Disanayaka. Deputy Registrar, Faculty of Medicine, Mr. Bandara. Student representative from the A-Level 2019 batch, Mithila Minodana. I now invite the President of the Faculty of Medicine Teachers Association, Professor Madhuwanti Disanayaka, to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, Madam.
A very good morning to all of you. Dr. BJC Pereira, the guest speaker at the Commencement Lecture 2021, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. Senior Professor Chandrika Vijayaratne, the Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo. Senior Professor Vajra Disanayaka, the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, Colombo. Senior Professors, Chair Professors, Heads of Streams and Departments, and all academics of the Faculty of Medicine, Colombo. The Deputy Registrar, Assistant Registrars, Senior Assistant Bursa, Senior Assistant Librarian, and Administrative and Academic Support Staff of the Faculty of Medicine, Colombo, the President and the members of the Colombo Medical School Alumni Association, student representatives, and the new entrants to the faculty, students of the A-Level 2019 batch, my teachers, colleagues, and dear friends. On behalf of the Faculty of Medicine Teachers Association, it is my great pleasure and privilege to welcome all of you to the Commencement Lecture 2021, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. First and foremost, let me welcome Dr. BJC Pereira, Specialist Consultant Pediatrician and Honorary Senior Fellow of the PGIM. We are most grateful to you, sir, for accepting our invitation to be here today to share your vast knowledge and experience in order to inspire the newly recruited undergraduates as they embark on a career in medicine. On a personal note, as your house officer way back in 1996, I still remember how you imparted your clinical skills with such great finesse and showed us by example how one could balance hospital work, professional work, and family life, not compromising any of them, but excelling in all. Madam Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo, Senior Professor Chandrika Vijayaratne, we are honored to have you here today with us and would like to welcome you warmly to this landmark occasion. You have been the guiding light of this #1 ranked university in the island, which is also celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. We would also like to welcome our Dean, Senior Professor Vajra Disanayaka, a pioneer in digital transformation, who gave us visionary leadership at the Faculty of Medicine Colombo in its 150th anniversary year, encouraging us to overcome the challenges and cruise through this COVID pandemic with minimal disturbance to academic activities. A special welcome to the President and the members of the Colombo Medical School Alumni Association, who have always wished us well and have supported the faculty and its students and in the hour of need. Dear students, although current COVID pandemic has created a physical barrier between us, as the teachers of the Faculty of Medicine, Colombo, we welcome each and every one of you and extend to you our heartiest congratulations for joining the MBBS program, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. And remember that we always want you to support you and to encourage you throughout your stay here and even beyond. From today onwards, you would be ordained as budding members of this noble profession of medicine, where you would be thinking of others before your own self. As you start learning anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry, you will be convinced by the fact that wherever you come from, the north, the south, the east, or the west of our dear country, or from overseas for that matter, that all of you would be having in your bodies the same arteries, veins, and nerves, and the same red blood cells will rush through those blood vessels. It will also be the same carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids that would get metabolized in your body. Embryology will convince you that however strong and robust you are now, that we all originated from the one cell stage. Whatever the caste and creed or the social status, that one day what remains would be a cadaver similar to one seen on an anatomy dissecting table. Forget not that each and every one of you have been chosen to relieve the suffering of fellow human beings. Learn to listen to the sounds of the heart with your stethoscope, but go deeper and learn to hear what that aching heart is trying to tell you. So today for you, dear students, marks the very first day of a challenging but a memorable journey to becoming a competent, compassionate, and a caring doctor. And as the Faculty of Medicine Teachers Association, we wish you all the very best. In conclusion, I would once again welcome all of you joining us on site and online to the Commencement Lecture 2021 of the Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, and invite you to stay with us as the proceedings of the day unfold. Thank you, take care, and stay safe.
Thank you, Madam. The next item on the agenda is the address by the Dean. Faculty. I now invite Vidyajyoti Professor Vajra H.W. Disanayaka to address the gathering.
Good morning, everybody. Senior Professor Chandrika Vijayaratna, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Colombo, our special guest and the commencement lecturer this morning, Dr. B.J.C. Pereira, President of the Faculty of Medicine Teachers Association, my colleague, Professor Madhuvanti Disanayaka, fellow academics of the Faculty of Medicine, Mr. Ajitha Bandara, the Deputy Registrar, Mrs. Champika Fernando, the Senior Assistant Bursa, Dr. Mrs. Kurupu, the Deputy Librarian, and all the fellow administrative officers, my dear students. I'm sure there are parents also joining us when we go online virtually. Parents, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure once again to say a few words at the commencement of the academic activities for the 2019 batch of medical students. This is the third time I'm addressing because we had an inauguration for the English course. Then we had an inauguration with the introductory program, and today the formal ceremony to commence the academic activities. It has been a roller coaster 1 month, and we got the batch of students, the list 1 month ago. It was not only students from Sri Lanka, but also students from various parts of the world. And we had to make sure that we commence our program as soon as possible. So I would like to take this opportunity in the morning today because I'll be addressing the students once again at 11:30 with the anatomy program, where I can say a few words along the lines of what my colleague Prof. Madhuvanti Disanayaka said to the students. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all those who made it possible for us to, within this very short period of time, do everything and start this program. So to begin with, I'd like to thank my administrative team in the Dean's office for doing everything digitally. I think for the first time this year, we did the entire registration process digitally, including all the payments for the foreign students and so on. So that leadership was taken by Mr. Ajitha Bandara, who made sure that it went flawlessly. I didn't have any complaints. Everybody, the work was well done, and everyone had compliments for the staff. So I'd like to thank Mr. Bandara, Mrs. Piumi Haluana, then Mr. Vajra Hettiarachi, and all the staff in the Dean's office who took up the challenge and did beautifully to ensure that we get here smoothly. Then I would also like I'd like to thank the staff of the Bursa's office, Mrs. Champika Fernando and her staff. It was a challenging period. We had to close the office because of a COVID incident there. And they worked beautifully from home virtually and gave us the fullest support to ensure that nothing, there was no glitches on the way. And everything happened beautifully. So thank you very much to the accounts department, Mrs. Fernando and everyone for all the hard work. Then the library is also a very important component of all the work that we do. Dr. Mrs. Kurupu and her staff have also risen up to the challenge, and soon we will be issuing all the necessary credentials for the students to start using the library. It is a challenging time for us because we are also in the process of moving the library from where we are to the new building. So it is time that I would request the new students to bear with us for a little while. You will start when you come on site, be working on a nice new venue, hopefully, with much more space and much more facilities. So thank you very much for the entire team in the library for all their hard work. Then moving on to the other groups, we had the team in the language unit led by Dr. Prabodhana Ranavira and his group. They did a wonderful job organizing the English language course, which again went flawlessly. So thank you very much, Prabodhana, for all the hard work of your team, which made it possible to have the English program, English language program done without any glitches. I'd also like to thank the medical education department led by Professor Gominda Ponamperuma, Professor Indika Karunatilaka, and Dr. Asela Olupelia, Professor Asela Olupelia. All of them did marvelously to ensure that the introductory program last week also went flawlessly. So then, of course, behind all this is the digital team, as it were. So led by Professor Sam Fernando, who is the chair of the IT committee, and then Dr. Roshan Hevapatirana, and everyone in that committee who contributed. But of course, our AV unit is playing a pivotal role, and I'm really happy to have Dr. Dakshita Vikramasinghe, one of our young up-and-coming academics, taking the bull by the horn, as it were, with the AV department, and really ensuring that we have flawless, audiovisual experience. They're getting better by the day. The expertise that we have developed in the faculty would really hold us well as we go on. Of course, at the end of the day, our aim is to serve the students, and students are the backbone of all the things that we do. We are serving them. I must thank all the students for all their cooperation. I think along the way, the new students, adapted very well to the digital platforms. We had a survey done of your digital access. We've got the details, and therefore, as I said before, we will reach out to individual students and try and support wherever they need help. But I think everyone has really risen up to the occasion, and I believe this is the first group of students who are coming after they were born, in the new millennium, as it were. So you are millennials, you are expected to be digitally enabled. So therefore, I think it will be easy to work with all of you and to ensure that we have that smooth, digital experience. So I hope that all of you also rise up to the occasion, and let's work together and ensure that we go forward smoothly. Finally, I would like to thank the parents, because the parents too were reaching out to us. I had the opportunity to speak to parents in two groups, one for the local parents on a Zoom meeting, and one for the parents who are sending their children from abroad on another Zoom meeting, both from Bhutan and other parts of the world. Your assistance, if you are listening to this commencement event, Your assistance is very valuable to us. And as I said, as we go on, please make arrangements for your children who are away from Colombo, who are coming to Colombo, to come and settle down in Colombo, because then we can move over to a smooth transition to an on-site program as we go on during this year. And to support that, I would like, I would really like to appreciate the fact that the Ministry of Health gave us enough vaccines to enable even the first-year students to be vaccinated. So that is a positive thing. And I hope that that also gives the students the confidence that you will be able to participate on on-site activities. So with those words, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank all of you for your presence here this morning. And I look forward to everyone's cooperation, the cooperation of all who are here, the students, the staff, as well as the parents to go forward. And I'd like to particularly mention here last but not least, the support that we are getting from the Vice Chancellor and the College House, because without that support, we will not be able to go forward. And in conclusion, I'd like to thank Professor Madhuvanti Dissanayake and the the Faculty of Medicine Teachers Association team, because they are the that's the team that really leads the commencement lecture, and they did beautifully the last week. They looked into all the details and made the arrangements so that we could go on flawlessly this morning. So thank you very much, Madhuvanti, and the entire FMTA team for all your hard work as well. So with those words, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And I hope that you would enjoy the commencement lecture that we have on store for you from none other than Dr. BJC Pereira, which I'm sure is going to be a treat for not only the new students, but also for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have the address by the Vice Chancellor of University of Colombo. I invite Senior Professor Chandrika Vijayratne, Madam, to address the gathering.
Ayubowan, a very good morning to you. A warm welcome to the new students of this wonderful medical faculty of the #1 University of Sri Lanka, but I think the best medical school that one could think of, not only in Sri Lanka, but the region and many parts of the world. So many congratulations to you students, as well as your parents and well-wishers. I'm sure everyone is proud and happy. And today is just probably a long tradition where the Faculty Teachers Association, ably led by Professor Madhuvanti Dissanayake and Dr. Hetty Arachchi, who I believe has a 1-month-old baby at home, who have given of their time to arrange this wonderful commencement lecture, which I am the barrier between that and you right now. I belong to the same faculty, and I was a student here too. And I can say that over the past 40 years, things have changed considerably, but please do not lose that touch, the human touch of being there, being made to serve human and mankind. You are a special group because you have come in from A-level 2019, but in 2021. Reasons being twofold. One is there was a controversy about how the marking and the Z scoring and all those mathematical formulae, which was thankfully resolved. While we also agreed in principle to take in more students than what we usually do, because we felt it was our moral responsibility, well knowing the numbers that are left behind when there are many more that qualify. Secondly, we have faced one of the most challenging times in the last 100 years, probably, of the COVID-19 pandemic. No doubt it was COVID-19, but you medical students, having had this wonderful introduction in the last couple of weeks, should appreciate that it's not just a tutory, it is a think tank, and we also have the alumni with us. And chief of it is our main speaker today, who is one of our main leaders. And so there are traditions, role models, and lots of other aspects to medicine beyond just passing your several exams and assessments. So I really look forward to all of you, both from Sri Lanka and those from abroad, particularly our Bhutanese group. And I know we have a strong Bhutanese alumni and a strong link. And we look forward to you enjoying your period, appreciating that we come from diverse backgrounds with diverse problems, and are also located in the city of Colombo, which is probably the most expensive. But parents and other well-wishers of each of these students should also appreciate that we as a family try to absorb you into this family. And there is a problem, any problem can be solved. I believe that there's a solution to any problem. And we have many, many mechanisms to support you beyond the lecture hall. And therefore, however digital we may be, we need to appreciate the human touch. And therefore, do not forget the Hippocratic Oath and look into the history of medicine as we go along. So all the very best. Thank you, Madhuvanti and Dineshini, as well as all my colleagues, both from the academia, the administration, the librarian, the Bursa, and also the alumni and the student unions for gathering as one and supporting these newcomers to join our family in the medical faculty and beyond. So thank you and stay safe.
Thank you, Madam. This year, the commencement lecture will be delivered by Dr. B.J.C. Pereira. I invite Professor Madhuvanti Disanayaka to read the citation of our eminent speaker.
I'm honored and privileged to read the citation of my teacher, Dr. B.J.C. Pereira, Specialist Consultant Pediatrician. Dr. B.J.C. Pereira qualified with MBBS Ceylon second class honors in 1970. Subsequently, he obtained DCH Ceylon, DCH England, MRCP UK, MD Pediatrics, FRCP Edinburgh, FRCP London, FRCPCH UK, FSLCP Pediatrics, FCCP, Honorary FRCPCH UK, and Honorary FCGP Sri Lanka. He served the Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital, Colombo, as a consultant pediatrician for 14 years and extended his services to the Faculty of Medicine, Colombo, as a clinical teacher admired by many generations of medical students. He served as an examiner for the University of Colombo and Peradeniya, the Postgraduate Institute of Medicine, Sri Lanka, and the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Pakistan. His research interests include childhood asthma, respiratory infections, breastfeeding, and pediatric HIV disease. He has over 60 oral presentations in Sri Lanka and abroad with 4 prizes for the best paper of the Congress. He is the author of over in peer-reviewed journals, including index journals. He has delivered many scientific orations and guest lectures at national and international meetings. An ardent writer, he has been an editor, chapter author, joint author of 12 books, including his autobiography, A Trek Known Only to a Few. He is a section editor of the Ceylon Medical Journal and joint editor of the Sri Lanka Journal of Child Health. He was the editor. He is also a member of the International Advisory Board of Pediatrics and Child Health and the International Review Board for the Archives of Disease in Childhood. Dr. Pereira became the founder president of the Sri Lanka College of Pediatricians in 1996 and was the founder president of the Respiratory Disease Study Group of Sri Lanka. Being a pioneer in the field, he was also the founder president of the Childhood Respiratory Disease Study Circle from 2008 to 2018. He was the chairman of the Board of Study in Pediatrics of PGIM, University of Colombo, from 2003 to 2006. Dr. BJC Pereira was the president of the Sri Lanka Medical Association in 2013 and the president of the Colombo Medical School Alumni Association, COMSA, in 2015. He became the founder chairman of the Sri Lanka Forum of Medical Editors in 2016. He was honored with the prestigious award of the Outstanding Pediatrician of Asia by the Asia Pacific Pediatric Association in 2007. Dr. BJC Pereira is also a well-known cricketer, a nationally ranked tennis player, and a level 1 certified coach of the International Tennis Federation. May I now have the honor of inviting Dr. BJC Pereira to deliver the Commencement Lecture 2021, Faculty of Medicine, Colombo. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Vice Chancellor, the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, Colombo, and the President of the Faculty of Medicine Teachers Association. All these erudite academics of the faculty, and most importantly, the new entrants to our faculty, and the administrative staff, and everybody else who is involved in this event. Madam President, thank you very much for those rather superlative words of introduction. For a moment, I was wondering whether she was referring to somebody else. When I was first invited to give this commencement lecture, my immediate response was, why me? I don't really know the answer to this even now, because by no means of imagination would I ever say that I was a model student here. And I was a bit of a scamp at home, in school, in the faculty, and later on even in my professional life. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at this slide carefully, you see that I have highlighted 1 degree there, the MBBS. That is the very same degree that you will get at the end of a 5-year stint in this faculty. With all that much of a tail after my name, I could have probably worn a cloak of various hues of the rainbow, but I elected to wear the simple black academic cloak of my most treasured degree there, the MBBS Ceylon. So the first thing that I would like to tell you is that be proud of being a student of this faculty. And in 5 years' time, when you do get the MBBS, perhaps like me, consider that to be the stepping stone for the rest of your career. This is a very famous foreign minister of our country some years ago. In 2005, almost 50 years after he left Oxford University, Lakshman Kadirgama's portrait was unveiled at the Oxford Union. This was a great honor bestowed by the Oxford Union on only 15 others in its 183-year history up to that time. At that event, Mr. Kadirgama said, Oxford was the icing on the cake, but the cake was baked at home. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I may be allowed to paraphrase the same sentiments, my own cake of a professional journey was baked in this iconic Faculty of Medicine, Colombo, and only the icing was from England. When I entered this medical school, I had no idea what medicine was all about. Excuse me. All I knew about doctors was from the impression that I had gathered from a most kind general practitioner who treated me when I had some minor ailment or the other. A red letter day in my life, 30th of September, 1965, long before many of you were born, and certainly long before many of you were even thought of by your parents. Now, on the 30th of September 1965, we had to register in this faculty, in the administration block, and we had to produce a photograph. This is a photograph that was taken a couple of weeks before that day. And if you look carefully at this photograph, there is a mustache there. And that mustache is a Lanugo hair delayed puberty type of mustache. That's shave. I had to shave. It brought back images of these very early days in this faculty. And when I had to take that first shave on that memorable day. There was no commencement lecture at that time. We were initiated with a lecture on human anatomy by Professor M.J. Wass, the chair professor of anatomy. You will get to know, ladies and gentlemen, the new entrants, that a chair professor is the man in any given discipline and department in this faculty. That person, male or female, rules the roost and controls that particular department. Then, after that lecture, we were taken to the dissecting laboratory B, and 5 of us, 3 girls and 2 boys, were presented to an unsuspecting cadaver. Luckily, the cadaver was placed on its face. We wouldn't have been able to look that cadaver in the face. And why the cadaver was turned on its face was that our first dissection was to dissect out the large muscles of the trunk and the back of that cadaver. First thing we were taught was to treat that cadaver with respect. We were taught by our teachers, let the dead teach the living. And that has been the case all along. And I hope it will be the case for you as well. Now, there were 3 of us with scalpels in hand. We had to make the first incision. 3 girls and 2 boys, scalpels in our right hands. And we spent quite a long while trying to make this very first incision. And the most petite out of the 3 girls, the smallest maid, was the one who plucked up enough courage to make that first incision. And the ice was broken. After that, we went to work. That particular young lady at that time should have actually become a surgeon, but she opted to be a consultant physician. The lecture hall seating was in alphabetical order of the surname. I was lucky enough to have a pretty girl seated on either side of me. I thought I was the rose among the 2 thorns. But of course, the young ladies had other thoughts. And up to this day, these 2 girls still think that I was the thorn between the 2 roses. Then we had our very first physiology lecture, given by none other than Professor A.C. Koch. Professor Koch was not a foreigner. He's a burgher gentleman, very eminent academic. He gave us the first lecture on 2 compounds called adrenaline and noradrenaline. To an uninitiated mind like mine, what is this noradrenaline? I thought it was no adrenaline. So a bit confusing. So I kept on cutting off the word adrenaline that I had written in my notes because I thought he said no adrenaline. So every time he says no adrenaline, I cut the word adrenaline off. And then at the end of the lecture, I could not make head or tail out of it, obviously. Well, that's Professor Koch. And then there was this gentleman, Dr. K.N. Chaniviratna at that time. He later was the Professor K.N. Chaniviratna, a lecturer like no other, but a man of immense physique, very imposing physique, big man. He was about 3 times my size at that time. So, quite affectionately, many people referred to him as Bull Chaniviratna. Not the kind of bull whom you find in a china shop, but a very erudite bull. So there was a cock and there was a bull. So physiology became a cock and bull story. And of course, I already mentioned Professor M.J. Vas, Professor of Anatomy. He was extremely strict person, brought in biting satire and humor into his teaching. Once, a student called the inferior vena cava, the inferior vena cava. The immediate response of the good professor was, ho, 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 bat cava, pang cava, kaum cava, singalaya modya, kaum kan yodya. Vena cava eka cava. However, he was a man with a golden heart. He helped many a needy student, even with his personal finances. Unfortunately for me, I got to know this only later on. Otherwise, I could have tapped him for a little bit of the money, which I could have very much liked to have had. Biochemistry, these are the 3 subjects we did in our first couple of years. Professor A. Hoover, Dr. N.G. Baptist, these were the 2 lecturers we had. It was all about organic and inorganic chemicals at a cellular and molecular level. All kinds, we were taught or asked to learn all kinds of cycles, Krebs cycle, urea cycle, glycolytic cycle, metabolic cycles, etc. But the only cycle that I knew at that time was a 2-wheeled bicycle. It was very boring, but life obviously dependent on them. So we had to grit our teeth and study. I also give you a photograph now of Dr. Viswanathan Viswan Navaratnam, MBBS Ceylon, PhD Cambridge. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I take you back to all that tale that I have after my name. None of that, either singularly or in combination, can ever hold a candle to a doctorate in philosophy from Cambridge. This particular erudite scholar had that. Because I say this because every Tom, Dick, Harriet, Armanis, Grigoris cannot enter Cambridge. So that degree is worth, and it's certainly something that I have not even attempted to get. Now, this man was somebody very special. Unfortunately, there is no photograph of Dr. Navaratnam in the anatomy blog. I tried to get it and there wasn't one. So in desperation, because I wanted to say this about him, I got his email address from the internet and wrote to him, and he responded very promptly with this photograph. Very handsome man at that time. He was a brilliant anatomist and embryologist. So end of the 2nd term revisal, we had a thing called a revisal. I don't know whether you still have it, where you are questioned on the work, the entire work done during that term. It was like a term test. He was my examiner on the anatomy of the entire abdomen. Could ask me anything. But of course, I made an absolutely complete mess of it. Did not even know the differences between the small and the large intestine, not even by their sizes. He had a penetrating look at me at the end of the revisal. And he gave me a C minus, barely passing. It's in terms of percentages, that's probably about 47.6 of 100. You're just passing because you're just reaching 50. And then he asked me very firmly to come to his office after the revisal. So I went there, and he was very stern, very angry. And he asked me, why didn't you study? So I said, I studied, sir. He asked me, when? Last night, sir. Then the penny dropped for him. And the next question was, did you sleep? No, sir. I studied the whole night, sir. The entire Hutchinson's textbook of anatomy on the abdomen. And then his entire countenance changed. He became very kind. He addressed me as son, which was quite an achievement to be called a son by such a fantastic man. And he said, do me a favor, never ever do this again. You're not the kind of person, obviously, who needs to study right up to the last moment. And he came out with a sentence of 7 golden words. And these are, close books 24 hours before any examination. And he said, close your books, read an hour, go and play some game, go out with your friends, and also, if you have one, go out with your girlfriend. Now, girlfriends were the last thing on my mind at that time. And my knowledge of the basic facts of life was so inadequate that if a young lady, a naked young lady came anywhere near me, I would have run away. I wouldn't have known what to do with her. So I decided, well, when a man like this says these things, there must be some truth in this. So I started doing this, exactly, closing books 24 hours before my examination. The next revisal at the end of the next term, luckily for me, I got an A because I closed books 24 hours ahead. Then from that time, ladies and gentlemen, I've had the fortune or misfortune to sit for very many different examinations. Starting from the second MBBS, which I got with second class honors, failed bacteriology, so couldn't do anything very much with the third MBBS examination, and then got a second class in the final MBBS examination. And took off from there, as I said, from the stepping stone of the MBBS degree, and very many examinations that I had to sit after that. And every single time, after many girlfriends as well, that I closed books 24 hours before any examination. So what this fantastic man did for me, it changed my entire life forever. I wouldn't be here today talking to you about a professional life if this man did not tell me this. Now, this is a photograph of more recent vintage where he was accorded the fantastic honor of the fellowship of Christ College in Cambridge. Because when he left us from this faculty, a couple of years after we completed our second MBBS examination, that he went back to Cambridge. And he was head of anatomy there, and later rose higher and higher in Cambridge. He knows I'm going to talk about it. I told him that. I suddenly, because I found his email, we had very long conversations. And he once said in one of those emails, I'm happy to have been associated with even a little bit of your academic advancement. Understatement of the century. Then, in our third year, when we had finished our second MBBS examination, we were introduced to a fantastic surgeon, Dr. R. Nakram, MBBS FRCS, who later became a fantastic cardiac surgeon. And he said on the first day, there are just 3 important things in medicine. And then he gave the answer to the first one. He said, the first is diagnosis. Then he asked us, what is the second? So we thought and said, assessment of the patient, doing investigations, treatment. He said, no, it is also diagnosis. Then he asked, what's the third? And ladies and gentlemen, you have guessed it. That is also diagnosis. So really, when you think about it, these are the 3 important things in diagnosis. If you know what is wrong with your patient, the rest is a piece of cake, because everything else is standardized. Now, I mentioned this because these are the important implications for all of you. You cannot diagnose a condition in medicine unless you have learned your basics. You are here to learn and to learn even more. And remember, this process, your learning that starts here today, should go on right throughout your life. It will be a case of never really being able to reach the light at the end of the tunnel. You will have to continue to strive to learn over and over again and again. When I entered this medical school, I had no idea what medicine was all about. However, this is the same slide that I showed. However, personal experience at age 10 years gave me some idea about how a dedicated doctor should work and behave. So I take you back to 1958. Still, I think many of you were not born. I was aged 11 years. My mother was very seriously ill and at death's door was admitted to Ragama Hospital because we were resident in Kadana at that time. And she was gasping for breath at death's door. All the doctors, it's too late, she's not going to make it. So my father took me and went to see the consultant down in his quarters, down Hospital Road in Ragama. And when the gentleman came out to meet us, he explained the problem of his wife being admitted at that time, the lunchtime. This consultant had seen all his patients and come back for lunch to his quarters. And he gave him an envelope of 21 rupees, which used to be called 21 guineas. That was the consultation fee at that time for a consultant, 21 rupees only, a fortune. The doctor took it, counted it very carefully, and handed it back with some immortal words. He said, Mr. Pereira, I'm a public servant, and I do not know what is wrong with your wife, nor do I know whether I will be able to help you. But I will certainly go and see her now, but you do not have to pay a public servant to do his job. And we went back to the ward, and true to his word, even before we could get there, this consultant was there by the side of my mother, examining her in great detail. And then they started saline drips, injections, various things. My mother was in a diabetic coma, and in those days, very few with that complication actually survived. She did survive and lived for another 25 years. Well, if I ask you who was responsible for all this, who was responsible for my career that I spanned from that time later on? Gentle, fantastic physician. Because if my mother died at that time, that would have been the end of the road for us. Fast forward to 1967. Our first medicine appointment. under Dr. Ernest Victor Pieris, affectionately called Dr. Ernie Pieris. MBBS Ceylon, MRCP Edinburgh, MD Ceylon, MRCP London, FRCP Edinburgh, FRCP London, FCCP. The first day I immediately recognized the man who saved my mother. And then I saw clinical brilliance at its best over a period of about, I think, a month or two. And for this man, what mattered were his patients. He could treat the highest in the land and the lowest poverty-stricken patient with the same amount of care that he would give to any patient of his. The philosophy for him was very simple. They were all his patients. So he taught me two things. One thing is never ever take money from a patient who's admitted to your ward. Second, treat all patients alike. So up to that time, I started collecting all these role models and mentors. And you need to select your own role models and mentors very carefully, and people you would like to emulate. If I can go back to this slide again, on this man. Years later, when I was a consultant as well, I think in the early 1990s, we were at a social gathering. So this is crucial. Lots of things need to be observed in medicine. And learn not to delay doing certain things. Do not put off for tomorrow what should be done today. And more than anything, the last lives from now on. I spoke about English, the language of Her Majesty, the Queen of England. I think most of you are used to this. Akka nangi ayya malli kadu apita one naha. I think you'll have to give that up today. Converse with everybody in English. Whether you can speak very well or not, it doesn't matter. You will improve your English capabilities only by talking, only by reading, and only by writing. All three together. You may not believe this, ladies and gentlemen. I could not speak in English till 14 years of age. There was a burger boy seated next to me in school when I went to St. Peter's College. I was seated next to him. I never spoke to him for 1 year because I couldn't speak in English. The English master told me, you will not get anywhere without English. Yet another sentence of 7 golden words that changed my life. I won't go into details, but it was a Herculean effort to try and improve my command of the language. Then, of course, the proof of any pudding is in the eating. In England, or perhaps 15 years later, when I appeared for the MRCP examination at the age of 29 years, I did it in general medicine, and I had a patient, a very pleasant English lady. I was lucky enough to get the diagnosis within a very short time. So I had time to spare and was talking to her. She asked me, Doctor, which year did you study in Oxford? So I was a bit confused. I said, sorry, ma'am. She said, can't be. I asked, why do you say that? She said, you speak the most perfect Oxford English. So coming from an English lady who knows everything about English, so many years later, it takes me back to the time of 14 years when I could not speak English. I tell you this so that you will take this as a lesson and try to follow in my footsteps. Alas, very often, doctors are called by very many different names. Udalalis, all kinds of things. Now, this all went on in the media till just about a year ago. Now they don't call us this, at least for the last 1 year, because of the corona epidemic. My younger colleagues would really put their shoulder to the wheel to look after these patients with COVID. But of course, COVID will end someday, hopefully. And then they might start calling us these names again. Quite justifiably, ladies and gentlemen, you might ask, why are they being called that? Because we are supposed to save lives and treat patients equally. That is simply because of a total lack of professionalism on the part of many of us. The American Board of Internal Medicine defines professionalism as something that constitutes those attitudes and behavior that serve to maintain patient interest above self-interest. Lack of professionalism. We all, doctors, wield power. We have power over life and death. So many tend to abuse this. Some are arrogant, offensive display of superiority. And greed, this is the one thing that seems to pervade like yet another variant of COVID-19. Medicine is not a business. It is not something to make money out of. Money will come gradually and surely, but you don't have to work for money. Many people do all these things, utter carelessness, no regard for the sanctity of human life. Even some of our doctors, unfortunately, are inclined to do this. There are various types of conflicts of interest. Now, going on to a different aspect, I said it also includes professionalism, includes being observant too. In lighter vein, if I can show you an image, what is so unusual about this picture of a young lady carrying a tray of donuts? And I'm not referring to a biological and anatomical endowments, which you can clearly see there. But if you look very carefully, if you have good powers of observation, you will see that there is a rat on a donut there. And luckily, this young lady did not see this rat. Otherwise, she would have dropped the tray and run away, giving even better exposition to anatomical attributes. This is Gabriela Mistral, the one and only Nobel Prize-winning poet from Chile. She once wrote something which is of particular significance to my own specialty, pediatrics. His name is today, we are guilty of many errors and many faults, but our worst crime is abandoning the children, neglecting the fountain of life. Many of the things that we need can wait. Right now is the time his bones are being formed, his blood is being made, and his senses are being developed. To him, we cannot answer. Tomorrow, his name is today. I had this printed in my ward as a set of instructions for the juniors. From your point of view, if I can change this a little bit, when you have to deal with ill patients, his or her name is really today. To him or her, we cannot answer tomorrow. His or her name is today. Don't ever forget that the free education has given you everything. It did give me everything that I have today, and I have not forgotten that. Our people funded you, your total education, that you owe everything to your motherland, and do not let them down. The General Medical Council of the United Kingdom that define good doctors in this way. They make the care of their patients their first concern. They're competent, up-to-date, maintain good relationships with patients and colleagues, are honest and trustworthy, act with integrity and within the law. However, nobody is perfect. We are all part of the genus Homo sapiens with distinctive fingerprints of our own. We can only try our best. So all I ask you is in your later life to try your very best for your patients. Professionalism in medicine, most medical students as many of you today have wonderful and lofty principles when they enter the Faculty of Medicine. Unfortunately, many of these tend to wear off by the time they qualify. And this is true not only of undergraduates, it could happen even after securing postgraduate qualifications for qualified doctors. And I have known some people who, when they return back to this country after getting all the qualifications possible from other countries, have thrown all these ideals through the windows of the aircraft in which they are coming when they cross the airspace into Sri Lanka. Now, this is a paper report once about an individual saying that that person has intellectual honesty and rigor, discipline in all matters, love for the people and the nation, and unwavering commitment to do good. This was actually a description of a politician. I'm yet to see a politician who would fit the bill. But these are ideal qualities for a doctor. The father of medicine of many centuries ago said, our duty as physicians and surgeons and obstetricians is to cure sometimes, to treat often, and to comfort always. We as pediatricians, with apologies to my friends in adult medicine, we cure a lot of people, we cure a lot of patients. But we have to treat them very often, but we don't cure all. And we have to comfort them always. It's commonly said that it's never too late to start something. But I would like to paraphrase this as it's never too early to start, ladies and gentlemen. And this is a plea for you. If I can quote my favorite sportswear manufacturer, Nike, just do it from now onwards. If you can't find a decent person to follow around, look for someone in even from another field. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time you stretched your legs. May I please ask you to rise, everybody, for this great man whom I'm going to show now. So would you please be upstanding and join this man, Visharada Pandit W.D. Amaradeva, when he sings his very first creation. So give me a couple of minutes to play this. I hope this comes through. Please feel free to join in the singing or in the clapping. Will you join him? Such a humble man, he even salutes the audience. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I can have a few more minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, in October 1965, I was thrown in the deep end in the Faculty of Medicine in Colombo. My teachers had decided that I had to do medicine. I had no idea what medicine was all about. Yours truly was a young boy who was used to taking part in a lot of sports, just studying for a few days before exams and passing them as well. Did not imagine even in my wildest dreams how tough it was going to be. And not even in my wildest dreams that over half a century later that I would be standing in front of you talking about my life. I, at that time, just had to buckle down and change my ways. But, this is a big but, I put it in capitals. Those 5 years were the best time of my life. I did not take, none of us did, as a prison sentence. So, this is again another set of instructions for you. Enjoy your life in this iconic faculty of learning. However, as I mentioned at the start, I was in a group of absolutely crazy people. We were called the P group, just simple P, but not PEE. 5 in the block, 3 girls and 2 boys, and 12, 8 girls and 4 boys in clinical appointments. Girls, boys, all were the same. We were stark raving mad. We enjoyed life to the fullest. Also, we tried our best to learn in spite of our madness. We actually produced the best results of the batch after rioting for so long, over 5 years, and continued from then onwards. Out of the 12, there are 8 consultants, 1 professor, and 3 general practitioners all abroad. Come rain or sunshine, fire or brimstone, snakes or dragons, we were going to enjoy our life in this faculty. All of us were the best of friends. We took pains to look after the girls, obviously. We went out for meals, we went dancing, we did everything. We had a good time, and also we studied as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have given you some excerpts from a journey that started right here from this Faculty of Medicine. The appearance has very definitely changed in this list. But none of us ever lost sight of our responsibilities. And one of the highest accolades I was paid about being somewhat responsible was from my own father, who was admitted to my own surgical unit during my internship with a surgical emergency. My boss consultant dealt with him. My co-house officer, who is now a professor of pharmacology, looked after him. And my father, being an old colonial public servant, when on his recovery phase, he got around all the staff in the ward, was talking to them. But my father also saw something which he never imagined that he would ever see. He saw me running around in circles, working day and night, working without meals, without lunch, without dinner. Surprise. He's a man of few words, but when he recovered and went home, referring to me as a scamp at home, he told my mother, this is not the same boy who comes home. With apologies to the great bard William Shakespeare, who said, the world is a stage and we are all actors in it. So these were the well-known actors of my vintage. Robert Redford, Sean Connery, Marlon Brando, Clint Eastwood, Paul Newman. And with your permission, ladies and gentlemen, I'll put another actor in there. Age has no mercy, and this is what has happened to all those top handsome actors. There is a missing link there. I don't think I have done too badly. I have given you some excerpts from my own autobiography, which was mentioned earlier. This has got 500 odd pages. And if you can spare the princely sum of 1,500 rupees, I hope you'll make an effort to read it sometime. It's available in these two places, Godage Book Emporium and the Sri Lanka Medical Association. When I was first asked to give this lecture, I thought it was certainly was a gigantic task. I'm not sure what I was going to talk about as well. I think I gave you just a little bit of a trailer from my own life, which I hope would be inspirational. The rest of it, you will have to read it in my autobiography. But I like to think I gave you a little bit more than a trailer. My fervent wish for you, ladies and gentlemen, the new entrants to the Faculty of Medicine, is that you will sail through these 5 years and come out with a cornerstone for your rest of your professional life, the MBBS Colombo. And you will reach the highest levels of the greatest tennis player that this Mother Earth has ever seen, Roger Federer, who once said, it's nice to be important, but it's nicer to, and more important, to be quite nicer than that. And he's the greatest as far as I know. And if anyone ever questions you on this type of greatness of this man, please tell them that you were told this by another tennis player. Ladies and gentlemen, most of you are babies in medicine at the moment. So if some of you have fallen asleep, I do not blame you. But for all those who are awake, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir, for that very insightful lecture. We all have a lot to aspire to. I would like to now invite Professor Madhuvanti Disanayaka to present a token of appreciation to Dr. B.J.C. Pereira. I would also like to invite our Dean for a photograph while the token is being presented. Thank you, sir. I now invite Ms. Utkarsha Chandrasena to propose the vote of thanks.
Good morning. Respected and most distinguished guest speaker of the day, Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo, respected Dean, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, President and the Council members of the Faculty of Medicine Teachers Association, most valued guests, honorable professors, academic and non-academic staff members, and my fellow batchmates, those who are here today and majority joining online. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this momentous occasion on behalf of the A-Level 2019 batch of students. First of all, I would like to give my heartfelt gratitude to our guest speaker, Dr. BJC Pereira, for gracing today's event and delivering the commencement lecture. Thank you, sir, for your very thought-provoking and interesting address. I would like to thank the Vice Chancellor of the University of Colombo, Senior Professor Chandrika Vijayaratne, for gracing the occasion and providing us with encouragement. I must mention my deep sense of appreciation to the Dean, Professor Vajra Disanayaka, and the academic heads of the faculty for hastening our registration and enrolling our batch amidst the COVID-19 pandemic situation in the country. My sincere gratitude goes to the Faculty of Medicine Teachers Association, led by Professor Madhvanti Disanayaka, for their commitment and hard work to ensure that this occasion becomes a memorable success. I also express my gratitude to the administration staff of the faculty for their dedication and hard work. Even though we were not able to visit the faculty physically, the past 3 weeks were filled with enthusiastic activities, and we were introduced with a busy online university life, yet never boring. And I would like to thank the language unit of the Faculty of Medicine and the language teaching unit of the University of Colombo for the interactive and valuable 2 weeks of developing our language skills, despite the virtual arrangements. The following week of orientation was no less interesting. I thank the Department of Medical Education and all the academic staff members for introducing us a university life filled with competence, compassion, and care. I cannot thank everyone enough for their involvement and their willingness to take on the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zones. Last but not the least, my sincere gratitude goes to my fellow batchmates, those who are here today and majority joining online. Even though our greatest dream of witnessing this program physically could not become a reality today, thank you for bearing the situation and extending your fullest support. Just as the famous saying by Aristotle, the roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. I hope that our growing commitment will result in a great success, especially during these unprecedented times. Once again, thank you all for your presence and have a good day.
Thank you, Utkasha. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the formal event for today. We will now have the faculty song.
සරසවි හදවත වන් කිතුදුල් තිරසර මවුන් අප වෙද විදුහල්
අල්හල ඉදය කනියවලා මෘතුව පීඩතාය වඩා
සැම සුසලී වැති පුදදී නොව පැරදී රකිමු වැනේ
நலமும் கொடுத்ததவி எங்கும் கருண்யத்தை பரப்பிடுவோம்
පින්වමු දස්කම් නන් පසේ සින්දමුරෝපිය මන්තොසේ නංවමු යහදම් ලෝකුසේ බන්ධමු කිත්දද ලක් දෙසේ
අල්හල ඉදය කනියවලා මෘතුව පීඩතාය වඩා
සරසවි හදවත වන් කිතුදුල් තිරසර මවුන් අප වෙද විදුහල්
திறமைகள் ஆற்றல்கள் படைத்தவளின் பதம் தொழாதே புகழ் காத்திடுவோம்
සුවය සැපත හැම සත වෙත සාදා සදමු පවෙත මෙත අතැ අතැවීදා
Thank you very much. The academic procession will now leave the hall. I invite all of you for refreshments at the Senior Common Room, courtesy of the Faculty of Medicine Teachers Association. Thank you.